Okay, calling the St. John Water District meeting to order on March 21st at 5 p.m. March 21st, 2023 at 5 p.m. And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Jim Zarnik,
Present.
Joan McInerney,
Present.
Ken Gambala is absent, Joe Wizawati,
Present.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
You have a quorum, but since you only have two, all votes have to be unanimous.
Okay. So next we'll move on to approval of the minutes. So approval of the minutes for February 21st, 2023, regular meeting session. Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
And so I have to obviously second, right? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Oh, aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. And then approval of the minutes for the February 21st, 2023 Joint Water Board and Sanitation District Study Session. Looking for a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. So then new and old business. So I think we have First Group Engineering for an update on the West 93rd Avenue and US 41 project.
Evening, Board. Joe asked me to come here tonight to present you with the CE agreement for the 93rd project. Last month, we were here to discuss the construction budget portion that you guys, we asked you to fund. Joe thought it would be appropriate if we also split the CE agreement with the water and roadway project as well. So the dollar amount that you see, that $80,000 roughly, is the roughly 24% split for the overall construction inspection. And that's simply based on pay item costs of the actual bid tabs.
And Evan, I'm sorry, if I may.
Yes.
Are when the invoices come in on this project, these are going to be invoiced separately, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so this will be set up on a separate docket, so you'll get only those that are applicable to water. Anything that's road-related will go to the town council for their approval.
And as we told the town council with the roadway agreement, this is a worst-case scenario in case the contractor really hits it aggressively. We likely will not bill out 100% on the water CE inspection either. But again, if they hit it 6 days a week, 12-hour days, it may be used.
But we're hoping not.
Well, exactly, we're hoping not. They're on a pretty aggressive schedule to still get the project done this year. But again, it's a split based on the pay item costs of the project.
So Joe, just to confirm, so last time we heard about the project and it was phase one was the 889,000, so this is in addition to those dollars.
Yes, and that is not, those were construction dollars. This is for the inspection part of the project.
So, I mean, last time you presented the cost for the project. So, I mean, these two things go together, right? So I just wasn't aware that we were definitely moving forward with the water components. Has that entire package been awarded to the contractor?
The road has been awarded to the contractor, yes.
But the utility work has as well.
That is one contract, yes.
Okay, so then we're right back to where we were, where do we have enough money to do this project? I haven't really got an answer on that.
Right, yeah.
No problem whatsoever with you doing the inspection and the amount. Great. Fantastic. And I would reiterate what I said last week is that I think we should definitely do this project if we have the money for it. This is the time to do it. It's late March. They got to get this done. If they're going to finish this project by the end of the year, totally get that. Just, I want somebody to tell me we've got enough money to do it.
Yeah, and I do apologize. Last month, I did tell you guys I wasn't going to be approaching you for any more funding for this part of the project. However, I did not know that we would be splitting up the CE agreement as well. So that's why I'm back here this month.
So how did that come up that was being split among, like, how is it being split?
With respect to the construction engineering, or for the project engineering, right? You're talking about what we're talking about tonight.
Right, the 80,000, yeah.
Well, because I didn't think it was fair that, you know, the town council, with respect to the civil budget versus the water, since this is a water component, this isn't applicable to the you know, civil property taxes and stuff like that. So it would make more sense that it be allocated under the water. This project has been out there for probably about 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
At least it was handed to me 3 years ago now. I know it's been in our system since about 18. So it's been in development for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's gone through multiple town managers. There's maybe where some of the funding allocation may have gone astray. So that's, again, I do apologize. I had to come back here this month and ask for more money. But again, as Joe implied, that it was just the fair cut between the roadway portion being funded and the water being poured.
Yeah, we have about 1.8 million in water system maintenance, I think when I sent you the fund balance information, don't quote me on the exact dollar amount.
Can I see that? I don't remember seeing that. Sorry if I missed it.
Beginning of month balance, Joe, is that what we'd be looking at, that 1.4 million?
Yeah, or 1.4, whatever, yeah, that was. Which is in the water utility, and that's all unappropriated, so, you know, obviously this type of project would fit within that whole. So do we have the money for it? Yes, we do. You know, where we're gonna pull that money from, we do have some ARPA funds from Lake County, so obviously we could, you know, utilize some of that for the project as well. That's not gonna be something we need today, but we know that we do have about 400 and change allocated from Lake County for water projects, which this would fall into that, you know, that allocation.
All right, and then the well projects and the treatment plant, those are all bond projects.
That's correct. The water treatment, I don't believe was conceived or thought of, because I thought the original intent was to use our existing treatment, but I don't know if that's something that, you know, we're gonna be taking a look at, which is why we're exploring that as an option or not. So
Okay.
having a separate treatment facility instead of putting all of our eggs in one basket at one facility. Yeah.
Can we call on John?
I just have a question. What was your percentage rate?
I believe it was roughly 23 or 24% of the total CE fee, and that's based on the construction dollars. When you break down the pay item costs for the water main portion of the project, is about 20, I believe it was 23 or 24% of the overall construction budget.
Just for the water portion?
Yeah, so of just the water portion was roughly 24% of the total construction dollars. So that's how we,
Total construction of the water? Or total construction of the entire project?
so the entire project was roadway and water, and the water is roughly 24% of that.
Once again, I want to verify. If the total project was $1 million,
Mhm.
road construction and water main, you're charging basically 25% for construction engineering.
No. The 24% is the amount that is allocated for the water portion of the project cost,
No,
total project cost.
Are you asking for the entire CE fee?
Right. Your CE fee, it sounded like you were saying it was 24%.
Oh, no.
No. The entire CE fee is not. No, it's
I know where you were going,
Yeah, I
but that's
think
why I'm like,
it's-
wait a minute.
It's like 9%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's roughly, it's less than 10%. And that's, again, based on the aggressive schedule, if they completely hit it really aggressively to finish the project before the end of the year.
And that's full-time inspection, right?
And that is full-time inspection, with the help if we need it. So, I mean, again, we do not anticipate going to 100% unless, again, there's days out there that we have to have more than, one guy out there helping out or multiple people in the field coordinating all the different contractors.
So basically, they're voting for the 9% of construction inspection for just the water portion. That's what this board is voting for, just for the water main project, correct? That is associated with the road construction.
The 24% that I quoted was of that 9%. Am I getting closer to what you're asking?
Yes, I'm not sure. So maybe we start again. So tell me what the 24% that you're referencing.
That is when you compared the
total bid.
roadway item, the road construction items compared to the water main construction items. And then the total,
Overall construction project.
the overall construction
So water is
project
24% and the remainder is
the-
road.
is all road.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And that's how we decided to split up the CE fees based on that simple percentage. The overall CE fee is, I believe, 9 or 10% of the total construction dollars.
For just the water work.
No, the 9% is both water and road work.
Okay, so the calculation I just did was I took your $80,000 divided by approximately $900,000 for the water improvements.
Yes,
That's like 9%.
yes.
And to me, that's a reasonable construction engineering percentage.
And that same percentage can be basically followed onto the roadway as well.
Right.
Okay. Which we really don't.
Right,
care
but this
about.
board doesn't particularly matter.
When you throw out that 20.
No, yeah, I understand. Like,
It's
we're
of the
we're
total
paying some
project cost.
high inspection fees around here. No, we are not charging 25% inspection fees.
All right, so this is what I'm hearing. Joe, you say that we've got the money. Okay. My opinion is that this project needs to be prioritized because the contractor is mobilized and they need to get this work done before anything else. So this is kind of kicking the can down the curb, but in terms of what we can afford beyond today, beyond this project, we need to scrutinize because I'm not sure we can afford everything that's being,
Thrown at us, yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Well, affording it and needing it, obviously, there's two different things.
Oh, yeah.
but
Well, we need it
How
all.
does this interfere then with the Acorn project? Will it interfere at all, or no?
Well, the Acorn project, I think, has been moving ahead, so, and that's already been kind of decided that we were gonna use the water bond money for that project, because it was a smaller project, and we kind of, the other smaller pieces of the water main replacement project kind of were,
Because I know Jim's going
Set
to
aside.
ask where that money is going to come from.
that's coming out,
That's
that'll be
right,
coming
Wayne.
out of the
Right.
water bond project. I think that was what was decided earlier on last year.
Is there, then, and the water bond project, is that the one with the 7 million?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't want to spend that down too fast because
Well, we got wells 8 and 9, and we
8
got to
and
put
9.
in some stick of pipe, and yeah, there's a lot of other stuff that's got to come out. 41, that's also another
Right, that was $1.5
1.5
million.
million or something, yeah. That's pledged out of the water bond. So we'll get you an update on the water bond projects, so that way you guys have knowledge of what's going on with the water bond projects. Because obviously you guys weren't here last year, but a lot of that stuff's kind of been in motion for a number of years now. And we're just finally making some headway on that. So we want to get the priority projects done in the water bond. I'm sorry, I don't mean to take away the time, but just kind of giving them a little bit of information. And we'll get that updated for you before Friday, so that way you have some idea of which projects were kind of prioritized for that.
So can I ask a question? If it is showing on the docket and coming out of 6101 water
is the utility, yeah.
utility
Yeah.
account,
Correct.
then does that mean that it's not a bond-related
Correct.
project?
6105 is your bond-related project, and anything with
And so do we see a docket for 6105?
6105, you would have specific items, pay items for 6105.
Okay.
So those would be separate and above, because those are capital projects.
Okay, so of the invoices that I looked at today, like Acorn Oaks, like there was something for Robinson, an invoice for Robinson.
And that was out of
That was-
6101,
Yes.
yeah.
but I thought we just said it was coming out of the bond.
We're trying not to pay for engineering cost out of the bond.
When we set up that bond, it wasn't set up for that. It
Right.
was
They
set up
didn't,
for.
they did not include and anticipate engineering costs, consulting costs, stuff like that out of the bond for the specific project, so it has to come
So
out
it's
of the utility.
only construction costs out of the bond?
Correct. The capital projects. And the clerk treasurer is very comfortable with having it set up that way, and I don't disagree with what she's wanting to do with that. Because it makes sense to have just capital costs coming out of the bond.
Okay. So I don't know how we get to this and if we need to do a special study session, but from my perspective, I can't, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around how you operate a department in monies without having a budget. And where we can have what the plan looks like for the year. Here's how much revenues we have coming in from what vehicles is the revenue flowing in, and then what projects have we already committed to, and so that we can see the outflows, whether it's operational costs, whether it is capital projects that are coming out of the bonds, whatever those particular projects are going to be, so that we can have an understanding of, okay, now we know how much we have left. And each month we can see where we at against that. We have that information on the district side, but this is the bigger side of it, and we don't have that information.
It's millions of dollars.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah. And so,
So
I mean, just
when-
when I'm doing my back of the envelope kind of thing, I mean, we're
What,
$2.6 million committed, and we don't have a
Yeah,
line of
what-
sight to where we're
we,
at.
we had a meeting week before last. I missed a week last week, but we had a meeting week before last with Robinson and Senator Dalton, and we're taking a look at the 5-year capital improvement plan. So a lot of those projects that you're talking about are going to be put out within that 5-year plan. One of the other things that we're working on now is to get a budget for the utilities, both sanitary and for water, so that way it's presented to you for adoption, and that way you know, as far as the utility costs are, what your revenues are, what your expenses are going to be for the year. It's all actually budgeted out there. So
So Joe, who's accountable for putting that budget together? Is it Bob as being the department head? Is it you?
no,
Is it Beth?
it would
Is
be it would be between Beth, me, and Senator Dalton to put those numbers together for you.
And so Bob's sort of the spender.
And just so you know, this has never been done. So the town's
No, I
never
know.
budgeted for utilities. This is something that's new. It's going to be a little bit different because it's going to take some getting used to in terms of, how people are getting paid out of there, what percentages, et cetera. So there's a lot that goes
Oh, yeah,
into that.
yeah.
So, and we'll get it figured out, and we'll have a budget that's balanced and presented to you guys for consideration.
So does Bob have a seat at the table?
Bob will be there. Bob is the Public Works Director, so in terms of, the operational expenses that go through or that flow through to this, that obviously he would have a say as to what's going in there, what's not going in there. So when we have those discussions and there's items on there that are related to Public Works, we'll definitely have Bob here for those discussions.
And then what's a reasonable timetable?
I will get back to you on that. I'm thinking that we should probably have something ready to go here in May. I know it's 5 months into the fiscal year, but we'll have a good head start as far as how much revenue we've gotten and what expenses we've had, and then we'll know what other obligations and everything else will be involved with that. So hopefully we'll have a study session before your regular meeting
Okay.
in May, so that way you guys can adopt the remainder of the year budget. And understand, again, there's no statutory requirement that the utility budget, because it hasn't been done. A lot of towns don't. Recently, I know that Cedar Lake has, and that was one of the things when I first came in here, we were taking a look at, was getting that done, but kind of going through the changes and everything, it just makes sense to kind of put that off till this year to do that.
Yeah, it seems like it's a best practice to.
It
put in
is, and I
place.
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
So we're looking for a motion to approve the construction engineering agreement for First Group.
That's correct.
I will make that motion.
I will second. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then Robinson Engineering task orders. Joe, I'm not sure what,
Well, included in your packet, we had in the task orders from Robinson Engineering. I know that, Jim, there was a couple that we want to kind of hold off on until Tom's back, so we can kind of go through those at a later date.
Yeah, I just had some questions regarding some of the task orders and some I'm fine with. I don't know what your stance is, Joan, on these. So, so the Acorn work, I mean, that's been going on for quite a while. The water distribution system analysis update, that's been going on for a while. The pilot plant study has been going on for a while. I would say like the new ones are the well house design, the treatment plants, and then the water main extensions. So I would say,
It was 07, 08?
yeah, so I'm good with 4, 5, and 6, and
you're saying 4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6.
Oh, okay, task order, okay, yep,
You see that?
top, yep.
And then the other ones, I would table, I mean, I'm okay with, I'm okay with 7 in terms of the numbers being proposed, but just in terms of like budgeting,
Yeah.
in light of this discussion, I would vote to table those for now as well. So I would make a motion to table task order numbers 2207, 2208, and 2209.
And you want to just do an approval on the rest of those?
Yeah, and I'll make a separate motion for
Okay.
that.
That's good.
So I'm not trying to
Nope,
hijack
nope,
this.
nope, that's
but
fine, that's fine.
Expressing my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree, I think the first 3 are ones that are already in motion and in flight, right, so. Okay, so looking for a motion to table task order for Robinson Engineering numbers 2207, 2208, and 2209.
I make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
On, thank you. On the pilot's plant study, there's a charge for $20,000 on there for, and what got my attention was assistance. And that was just a trailer out there, and it simulated a mini treatment plant. And there's a $20,000 charge for the engineer. I mean, how did they get that? That's, the Peerless was out there all by themselves most of the time. So I looked at that, and I'm like, how is that possible to charge $20,000 for that?
Okay. Hold on, let me get there.
That's on, that's 2206.
Ah, gotcha. So that is the not to exceed of $20,000. So Joe, is that being billed at time materials, like standard hourly rates?
Yeah, for the up to not to exceed 20K.
Okay, but then Wayne, you're saying there's an invoice for $20,000?
Well, I was looking at this, Jim.
Okay.
It says up to 20,000. So everything that you got in those things from Robinson totaled to be $1,800,000. And that, I'm glad that you put some of that off, because like you say, there's way too much money involved in that, and I'm glad you did that.
So when you're saying that, so what I'm understanding is that Robinson is not billing a flat $20,000 for that support. They're going
I'm
to.
hoping that it's not $20,000 when they're done.
Greg, could
No.
you speak to that?
Yeah, so we would bill what we put towards the project, but also if you look at the scope of services, it's not just Peerless Midwest being out there in a trailer by themselves. So it's going to be coordinating with them, meeting with the project initiation and with Peerless and with also with the town and Public Works. And then also we'll do an evaluation of their results and provide recommendations to the board.
And then on the bottom, it says you're not going to provide design, engineering, or permitting.
No, this is just to look at how your water works when we do a pilot study, a small component of it through the green sand and see how it performs. So we're not designing for more wells, we're not designing for revision in the treatment system. We just want to see how it performs with this type of media, and then from there, the recommendation would be made, and a separate contract for design for replacement of the media would be enacted.
And I think when that's all done, you do need engineering to help with any item permits and stuff, so it's
Right.
good to have some engineering, but if we're paying $20,000 for that, I think that was high, so that was my concern.
Well, also, you're, and Joe can probably speak to this, you're not paying Peerless direct, it's coming through Robinson, so all the invoices for Peerless would be through that as well.
I think we pay Peerless direct, don't we? On the request to purchase, it says Peerless and it has a price.
I believe he is correct with respect to that. I believe that the RTPs have in the past
Okay.
gone that way, but I do believe that the invoices should be reviewed by the engineer to make sure that the work
Right.
is completed.
Okay, well, I'm mistaken, I apologize.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
So Wayne, on the 2206, are you saying then that you're feeling like the $20,000 is a,
Well, I think the total cost on all of that to do the pilot study for 7, 8, 9 was about 67,000, so they're taking like a third of that. I don't, from what I could see, there wasn't that much work done by the engineering company to warrant that much money if it goes that high. I think it's expensive.
So I'm not seeing an invoice that's been posted against this yet. Am I mistaken? Did you see one,
I did
Joe?
not see an invoice against this one, no.
And that's another thing, you made a good point, there are no invoices. It just says not to exceed, and I added it all up today when I got the packet, it's $1.8 million. That's a lot.
It's a lot of projects, too.
Yeah, but now where's the money gonna come from?
Well, that's to be decided.
And then some of them, like
That's-
Jim said,
That's why we're waiting on those.
some of those projects aren't, the ones for that regional well, regional treatment plant, that's 2 or 3 years off.
Right. And
So-
again, those costs will be, incurred at that point. They're not going to be incurred today.
And if you
So
look at,
that will be included as part of the 5-year capital improvement plan.
then you look at the docket, it's 56,400 for water main replace, and that's for Acorn. That accumulates to like half of the money that they got allowed for design. I think it's 116,000. Well, if you add the two, you get what's on the paperwork in here. So you're okaying this, but I don't know. And then you look at this, Robinson came in on September 14th. That's the agreement that when we took him on for engineers. But at that time, we had the water board and the sanitary board stuck with Haas Engineering.
No.
They wanted to do that to the end of the year.
That wasn't true, because the water board was going forward with Robinson.
because they were their own separate entity, and there was a question there with.
They never entered into an agreement, separate agreement, so they were
So
still
if they
using the
did,
town
then-
engineer.
Okay, but that was my impression. They were gonna wait till the end of the year, because it was like August when that came about where they were gonna make that change.
Right, but they never did do that.
So you got this 56,400 for the water main for Acorn, and Acorn was,
So maybe we should take these one at a time, right? Because I think we're kind of jumping around to them.
okay, but there's a lot of money involved, and,
So let's do
But
the
there's a lot of
task
work that
order
has to get done too, Wayne.
2204. Does
but
that
how
make
long is
sense?
it gonna take to do this work?
It's gonna be years. It's not gonna happen overnight. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of this stuff's already been punted down the pike.
So that's
The fact is that wells 8 and 9, the design and all that stuff needs to get done.
But you-
That's
you
part of the
have
bond project. We're
wells 8 and
obligated to
9
spend
for-
that money.
For 20,200, and you're taking it out of bond money.
Right.
You keep taking out of the bond money, you're not gonna have any bond money left.
But the bond money has to be spent by a certain date.
But the wells 8 and 9, what's the 20,200 for? Is that for design?
Where are you seeing that at? I'm sorry. I
On,
don't-
on this,
Oh, it's on the docket?
on the docket.
Okay.
It's under Robertson Engineering, so it's.
Do we have a copy of the invoice for that?
No, I don't.
I do.
You guys might, I don't think that, I do.
So what's the project number? 20,
It's
is it 2207?
it's you want the warrant number?
The task order number?
Yeah. Well, it says 413, I don't say task order.
Yeah, so that's.
Oh, okay,
That's
mean,
for the
I'm sorry.
amount, 20,200?
Where that's coming from.
It's on the docket.
I agree with you, Joan. Can we just
Yeah.
take these tasks order ones at one
Yeah,
at a time?
yeah. Okay, so let's start at the top. So 2204, task order 2204 is the Acorn Oaks main and resurfacing project.
Okay, so the value of this contract is $112,800 for design engineering, not to exceed, and $126,000 for construction engineering, not to exceed. But my understanding is that's really more like a lump sum, Joe, because that's how it's being billed. Do you have that invoice? I can show you.
I do.
Here, I have
and
this-
I'm
I have
I'm
the
not
invoice
disagreeing with you, but with respect to,
That's what they're
these
billing.
they were set out originally as a lump sum. However, the clerk had some reservations with respect to the SPOA. I agree with her assessment of that and said we had them redo the task orders to reflect the actual cost for design engineering and construction engineering. And that way those can be billed out as progress goes on the project, as opposed to waiting until the project's done and it's just a lump sum that they get paid out. So, yeah.
So,
And the SBOA may have had some questions about that, so that's why, out of an abundance of caution and transparency, that's why it was
okay.
done like this.
I mean, I have no problem with Robinson invoicing the way they're invoicing. And this is for a project that is pretty far along designed by now, so,
We have the permit, so.
okay.
Yeah, we're like ahead of schedule on that whole project too.
So to me, this is like, we're trying to approve something after the fact, and it's
Right,
late.
right.
I mean, we should have approved this way back in the day, just like with these other task orders that we've tabled now. We can at least get ahead of those. So for this one, I'm fine. I mean, Robinson's been doing the work. They're charging a fair fee. They've done the work. I understand it's of good quality. So I am fine with approving task order 2204.
And there is a item on the budget, or on the docket, for 56,400. And it's saying 50% of the work is complete at this point, which was actually an invoice date December 27th of 2022. So Wayne, do you have any comments related to that?
No, that's what I was getting at. That's half of that amount, what you just quoted. I don't have the paper in front of me, but is that part of that now? When you okay that's half of that amount, for design is already, gonna be paid for.
Yeah, I mean, this task order technically should have been approved before the work started, right? So, I mean, this is just trying to go back in time to approve a contract for which Robinson's now trying to bill, justifiably so, because they've been working on this since at least December, and the project has now been permitted. I think we need to get our house in order and approve the task order so we can move ahead and so Robinson can get paid for the work that they've been doing for months now.
Because we've had the IDEM permit at this point.
Yes, we received that about 45 days ahead of schedule.
And we want to do construction on this year, go out to bid this year?
Yeah, I think we're looking at, when did we have a date?
We were looking to go probably the first part of May
Yeah.
Okay.
and then award in June.
Okay. So,
Sooner the better on that one.
okay, so for task order 2204 for Robinson Engineering, looking for approval of the task order for a budget amount, or not to exceed amount of $112,800
Plus the construction engineering.
plus construction engineering.
So I'll make a motion to approve task order 22-04 with Robinson Engineering.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye. I think you need to vote, right?
Aye.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's 2204. $2205. So 2205 is for the water distribution system analysis.
So this is another project that Robinson has been working on for some time. I don't think I see an invoice for that project.
Yeah, we've billed at least 50%.
Oh, yeah?
I think those have all been paid too.
I was gonna say, I don't think it's on this docket,
Okay.
at least not that I saw.
So once again, like, we've approved invoices for a task order that hasn't even been executed. So I would say the same thing. They're doing good work. They've offered fair price. You need to get paid for the work, which they are getting paid for, so if you want to entertain.
Yeah, I would agree. So I'll entertain a motion to accept task order number 2205 for Robinson Engineering for a budget of $50,000.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 2205. 2206, task order 2206, and this is for wells 7, 8, and 9, a pilot plant study assistance. And this has a budget of $20,000.
So, Greg, I mean, Tom has reported on multiple occasions that it seems like Robinson is supporting this effort. So Robinson's incurred expenses against this project, right?
Yes.
And for some time now, right? But there hasn't been any invoices submitted for this project.
If there's none on there, then probably not.
I don't remember if any have come through in past projects.
I don't know if any have been submitted for the project itself, but I know that there has been some work done with respect to this already.
They're still working on, they haven't done the pilot study on 9, because they can't get out there.
Oh,
Yeah, it's kind of mucky out
Is
there.
that the one where the ground is so soft and,
Yeah, the road's
Get
kind of
into
cut
there.
in, but if you go
Yeah.
in there, you're gonna mess up everything. And the developer won't like that, so.
Yeah. I had a meeting scheduled with the developer yesterday, but I don't know if something came up because he didn't make it, so hopefully we'll get together later this week.
Supposed to rain a lot this
So,
week.
so the
Yeah,
pilot
that's-
study isn't done, they're still working on it.
Okay. All right. But, so I guess you have a concern with the fee, Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I would stress, just to understand the situation, that it's not $20,000 lump sum, right? So they're just going to bill us for their time, whatever it is, but I don't know what that time is
Right.
at this point. So I guess what I would offer is that we need to have that coordination between Public Works and Robinson Engineering to make sure that they're on the same page with the support that's being provided. And then, I mean, their invoices will come before us for approval. So, all we're doing is just agreeing to the task order that they're going to provide engineering support for this study, which I think is a great idea, and they've been doing already and should continue.
yeah, I mean, we've been hearing updates on it since we came on the board in January, so work is already progressing at this point. So again, even though nothing's been invoiced, work has already started on this one.
You should have an invoice.
What's that?
They
Wayne?
may
I
have
said
already
you
been
should have an
approved,
invoice.
too.
Okay, what's that, Gary?
They may have been approved like what we did with the model, so there are none on the docket showing.
Yeah, I don't
I know
remember.
for Acorn, I checked that this afternoon, and none of those invoices have been approved. So.
Yeah, I think the Acorn one, the first one is coming on the docket tonight. Um,
I think it's a moot point.
yeah, I mean, okay. So looking for a motion to approve task order number 2206 for well 7, 8, and 9 pilot plant study assistance.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So going back to then the 2207, 2208, and 2209, then for the next meeting, would there be follow-up that we would want to have on these at the next meeting?
Yeah.
And so those have been tabled. Okay, I don't think there's anything else for old or new business. Joe, do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. Wayne?
No.
Okay. So moving on to reports and correspondence. So the SCADA system with Austin Electric.
So tonight you have Matt Austin and Mike Austin from Austin Electric. So they're here to kind of just go over what's been done on the SCADA system. I know we had the report that Robinson presented to us, basically went over everything that was complete, everything was done very well. But we wanted to have him come up and give an opportunity to go through this with you so you have a fuller understanding of what they did in this project. So Matt, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, good evening, Board.
And thank you for coming tonight, guys.
Oh, not a problem. Hopefully you guys each got one of these sheets where I laid out kind of the questions I was asked by Joe.
Yep.
So I can go through it, or if you guys already have questions, how do you want me to continue?
I've read through it.
So,
I just had one question. So the final line says, I have a call set up with Verizon Wednesday to prepay the remaining 10 years of service pre-proposal. And I know that was one of the items that we were concerned about.
Okay. So during this whole process, I included 10 years of support with Verizon so that it would be included in the bond. So that'll allow you guys to budget for when this expires. And when I have this call set up for Wednesday, I'm going to take everything that we've already been paying your Verizon bill so far and subtract that from the 10 years. We'll cut them a check. I'll have all the documentation to prove that we've paid it, the money's in the account, and moving forward.
So the balance of the 10 years will not be charged to the town. So,
You'll have credit on your account.
okay. Okay, so the payment's already been made and included in the bond? I'm missing.
Well, I
this.
think what Matt's saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Austin's gonna go ahead and make an advance payment, essentially a 10-year payment on this contract with Verizon, right?
Correct.
And then what he's gonna do is invoice us for the complete project, and obviously
Which
show
is the
proof that it was
retainage.
paid,
Yes.
right? Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm understanding what you're saying.
Yeah. I know there was a lot of confusion about this towards the end.
I'm still confused.
Yeah, so you're paying the full 10-year, or,
Yes, I'm paying 10 years of support for what we had in our proposal.
Does that, I mean, I don't know if that includes any increases or whatever that Verizon might.
It's
Yeah.
a government account. They told me that the fees generally don't go up. This is what it's been for the last 10 years. And you just pay a flat fee since it's a government entity.
Jason, have we had, just out of curiosity, have we had any kind of increases from Verizon?
But this is
Yeah.
different from your cell phone. This is a M2M communication,
Okay, can you explain that? Because I'm like-
machine to machine.
Okay, so this is not
So we have a-
cellular,
Correct. We have a cellular modem over here. We have a
Right.
cellular modem over here. They talk together.
okay.
So machine to machine.
Okay. So it seemed like, Jason, you had some concerns with prepaying for a 10-year period.
Prepaying for 10 years is leaves a, how to phrase this. Prepaying for 10 years, I think, is probably a good idea because at this point, we're committed to Verizon. The equipment's in, the SIMs are in, the network is built, everything is functioning decently. I'm assuming the laptop has got no problem.
Yeah, the laptop is
Okay.
separate from all this, but we haven't had any outages. We haven't had any issues. I don't believe you've got any alerts.
The only one that I've been the only problem I have that is outstanding is Kilkenny. I remember talking to you about Kilkenny having a bunch of minute outages in the areas of 10 seconds up to like 5 minutes.
Wasn't that early on in the project, though?
The last set of alerts I got was like 3 months ago, possibly 2.
Yeah, and that's
think I
when
got-
mine quit, too.
Okay.
So we were out there. We made a few changes.
Right.
So that was corrected.
Okay. At this point, whether we prepay for 10 years or we just deduct that from the overall total and the money just goes back to the town and the town just pays as necessary, it's a wash.
If that's something you guys would entertain, then obviously they do a change order and there's a credit, on the contract. I don't know if that's even something you guys want to do, but
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do a credit, it just goes back to the bond.
I'm
There's-
looking for a recommendation.
yeah.
Well, there's also the concern that as we add units to the contract, that credit will decrease faster. So while we are prepaying for 10 years today, as we add lift stations, wells 8 and 9, that credit will suddenly become 9 years, 8 years, 7.5 years.
Right, it's not going to be that many years if you start adding additional services to that SCADA monitoring contract, if you will.
Okay.
and what's the dollar value of the 10-year?
The 10-year, if we just said if you wanted 10 years today, it's roughly $72,000.
So we're
Obviously,
buying
that-
$72,000 worth of service in advance, and however long that $72,000 lasts us as we continue to add on. So it may not be 10 years, most likely will not be 10 years.
Well, and,
Certainly will
and
not be
understand
10
it's not
years.
gonna be $72,000 sitting in the bank. It's just 72,000 that we're not paying out of the bond. Effectively.
But it's not going to be, if you ask for a change order, it's not going to be 72 because we've been paying it for the last
Yeah.
year and a half or something like that.
Free service.
So I guess that sort of answers my question, Jason. Like, you don't have a problem with us being locked in to Verizon for an extended period of time.
I don't see Verizon folding in the next 10 years.
2 years later.
Yes, we should have quote this exactly in the minutes. I think that prepaying is a good option, but just, again, be wary that it's 10 years, but the reality is probably 7.5 to 8.
Okay. And there's no advantage to going with a different carrier, renegotiating for lower rates. It just doesn't.
The government contract is a government contract. It's that fee and that fee alone. There is no lower price.
Okay.
And it took about 4 months to set up the whole entire network, so
Okay.
it's not switching your cell phone.
Okay.
And it's completely private, you might want.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not connected to the outside world.
Okay.
Yeah, when they say it's machine to machine, it's literally a private network that only our network devices can talk to. You need a special SIM in order to access it.
Okay.
So no, you can't hack into the system or anything like that.
All right.
It's incredibly difficult.
Well, yeah,
Don't say
Never say
never.
never.
You don't want to challenge somebody.
Yeah.
right.
And that's why
Give someone something to do.
Yeah.
and that again, that's also one of the reasons why it took so long for this laptop. We needed to get the right modem. So
Does? Oh, John, go ahead.
I think this contract also will involve the wastewater board.
Correct.
So my question is on that, is the contract with Verizon and the town of St. John, or is it with Verizon and Austin Electric?
It's with the town of St. John.
So
We have rights. Jason gave us rights on the account to get it set up, to monitor it.
So they can get it, teed
Yeah.
up and tweaked.
But it is their account, their name, their tax ID number, everything.
I can't really make a recommendation, but my thought on that is just I would recommend to our board that the contract stay with St. John and the bills go directly to St. John. And we basically eliminate the third party.
Right.
Well, we do.
Well,
That's how it is now.
That, yeah.
why would we, I guess what I'm saying is why would we pay you $72,000 when we would just keep $72,000 and do a 10-year contract
Well,
ourselves?
and there's a reason why you might want to consider doing that with respect to bond money. So this is part of the project, overall project for the bond. So that 72,000 or 7-ish years could be paid out of the bond proceeds, which that's kind of what it was intended for, was to cover the cost for the SCADA system. So there's a plus there. The minus is, you got $72,000 you could use somewhere else, in a bond project. So this isn't really a capital item, it's an expense item. So that $72,000 over 7 years could be expensed that way. So it's really not a recommendation, I guess it's more of a preference, which way you'd want to do it.
yeah, 72,000 out of the general fund or 72,000 out of the water bond.
And the only reason I say that, if Austin Electric goes out of business, or they in turn, is that a monthly payment you're doing?
Oh, we're paying one.
They would
Yeah,
pay,
we're
they would
sending
pay the
them a
whole
check.
thing, John. They'd pay for the next 10 years of service effectively, as of today. Yeah, so to Jason's point, as things get added on, once we add well 8 and 9 and, all of that, those numbers go from 10 years down to maybe 7-ish, is what he was saying.
Right, yeah, I got that.
It's $25 a month for a SIM,
Yeah,
for 250
So
meg.
his next, let's say we paid it tomorrow, your next invoice would show a credit of 65 or whatever thousand. We send them a check for. we're done, we're out. You're gonna work that credit off over the next however many years. And however many more stations you have, is the faster it's gonna work it off.
Right, right.
And does Verizon give you a credit, a separate credit on those accounts? So it doesn't get tied into the rest of the cell phone bills that?
Oh, it is its own account. It's, the machine-to-machine account had to be set up separately from all of the other accounts. So we have 3 other accounts with Verizon. This is a 4th, or this will be a 4th. Right now, the clerk's office has not seen any invoicing for this because Austin has been paying it. And then at the termination of this contract, then the invoices will start coming to us and they'll show a credit of whatever amount of money it is calculated to be. And then,
I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want us to pay the bill, just like you said. You can't be relied on that.
Right, you may get
Yeah,
bought out or
absolutely.
whatever, you know.
That's why we prepay it.
Yeah.
That was the whole intent, was to take, just like you said.
So can I just play back what I think that I've heard on all this? So if Austin pays the $70,000 up front, then they're going to invoice us for it, which then allows it to be taken out of the bond fund.
That's correct.
If they did not do that and we decided that we wanted to take over the billing, then it becomes a bill that we would receive on a
They would submit a
month-
change order for that dollar amount
dollar amount.
to that, which would reduce the cost of the contract.
Yep, so we don't pay them for that amount, and then we would receive billing from Verizon on a monthly basis, for which would come out of our
Your utility
our
fund.
utility
yeah.
fund, okay.
And it would apply the same way with the sanitary district as well. Although they don't have a bond, I don't think, on the
And even though it's
Sanitary
not a
side.
capital expense going against the funds, which a bond fund, which we just talked about, that we were having capital expenses go to the bond funds, we're still in the clear from any sort of bond accounting or regulations or anything like that.
Right, I mean, because it's a change order, right? So it'd be a change order to the SCADA contract, so it'd be a reduction on that cost.
No, I'm talking about that we're making sort of an operating expense payable to a bond. And do we have any issues with that? Because we just talked about what we're putting to the bonds is capital type expenditures.
Right, this was part of the contract, though. This is a little bit different. So this was part of the contract, as their proposal was to cover those expenses. So it's a little bit different because it's contractual, as part of the SCADA system. So is it an operating expense? Yes, it is. It is an operating expense, but it was an operating expense that they were already included in their contract. So I guess, you know, you've got a decision whether you want to include it in there and just have them move forward with that, or if you'd rather them give you a change order credit, you know, it's your call, and then just, you know, then you would assume the liability of making those payments going forward.
I think it should just go towards the bond.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
All right. Any other questions?
So you're going to move forward with getting that set up and then send us a copy of the invoice and then do your final invoice and we'll do your closeout.
Yeah, and then we'll show you all the payments that we've made, and we'll total it all up. You guys are happy with it, then we'll
Good deal.
close out the job.
Good deal.
did we ever
So-
get a electrical inspection? Because I know we need to finish that off to close out the building permit.
Then that'll have to happen. Are you going to call for the inspection, the final inspections on that?
I thought Bob Valois told me that he took the inspector around 2 months ago.
Okay, well then we'll have to check the
We'll
records.
check, yeah, we'll check with
Okay.
him on that.
So,
If not, you're going next week, either this week.
yeah, we're going Wednesday and Friday to test all the sites.
Well, then, yeah, that might be a good time.
So if he wants to pop in.
Wednesday would probably be better than Friday, I think. But I'll check with John tomorrow.
Okay.
Or, well, I don't know if John or whoever else.
It would probably be Jason.
Yeah,
The other Jason, not me.
not that, not you, yeah. We've got more Jasons. Yeah.
So from a town perspective, have we completed then all the punch list items related to the SCADA system? And Wayne, you would not come in here and say, we're almost done, right? Would you say we're done with the SCADA system? Is there still a
Have to
punch list left?
Ask these guys, they know, they should tell you exactly what's happening.
So I never received the final copy of the punch list, but during the meeting, they talked about spare parts, O&M manual,
Yep.
testing, and
Training.
Training, which those 5 items are covered in here. The
Good.
spare parts were delivered last week to Bob Davis and Mike Baltima. The testing is taking place this Wednesday and Friday of this week. On-site training is Thursday of this week. The O&M manuals are complete. We're going to use them for training. If there's no changes that need to be made, we're going to make 2 hard copies and 1 digital copy, and we should have those to you probably in a couple weeks.
And Matt, if I could, just one request, just to have them sign off on the training, that they've completed the training, you know what I mean? Whoever
Okay.
is getting that training, just so that way there's no, someone's coming back and saying, we didn't get it. That way it just covers.
All right,
covers-
yeah, then once
covers-
we're done with that, we'll include that in the O&M manual in the back with the spare parts signed off.
That's
And then you'll
perfect.
have all that. So as far as I know, those were the only punch list items.
Yeah, I think that was, I seriously, I think it was it. It was really negligible. I think the 72,000 was the biggest, you
Yeah,
know,
paying
or whatever
Verizon.
the dollar amount is for the communications portion.
Thank you for providing the update and for being here today.
No, not a problem.
Appreciate that.
All right.
And I think, Joe, it would be good for, I don't know, personally for myself, to hear Bob Davis, Mike Baltima, and Bob Beloit to say, I will put my John Hancock on this, that they are feeling that the complete project has been, delivered, they're satisfied, all the testing is done.
Right.
I's are dotted, T's are crossed twice, right? And that, because we paid a lot of money for the system, and just to make sure that, we're feeling like everything is complete on it.
Right.
The other thing I think that we talked about at the last meeting is to understand, so now that we're saying like this part of the SCADA system is complete, are there any other items that are now being recommended to be done to enhance the SCADA system additionally, or?
You had some of the incidental findings we talked about.
Yeah, that was along
But-
the way.
Yeah, do you want to kind of go through those real quick? I mean,
Yeah, I can.
it's a very good point.
So as of today, kind of to answer your question briefly, we fixed the things along the way because we were allowed to. It needed to be done to improve the system. Today, I don't believe there's anything that would really improve your system other than getting more wells online. That's your biggest hurdle right now.
It's just they're getting the capacity increased.
Yeah, when May 1st hits, we know it in the towers. So I could go through this when we were installing these. So we replaced the air compressor dryers at Monix. I don't know if you want me to tell you the names of where this stuff was done, but I can.
That's up to you, Joe.
That's fine, go ahead.
Okay. So the air dryer is to keep the water out of the pneumatic piping system. That controls the backwash valves of the filters. And in turn, with the failing water separator too, we had to replace the pneumatic pilot valves inside the Tonka panel because the air compressor water is very corrosive and it started eating the aluminum. So then it would hold the valve open, the pilot valve, which then in turn would hold the actual valve open, which causes issues with the backwash system.
Yeah, and I think I was out there when you guys were actually finalizing all of that out at the treatment
Yeah.
plant over here at
Yeah,
Gates, actually.
I think that was the first day I met you.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So then once we got that resolved, during the process, the Tonka panel operator interface, it was going on and off. And then after 2 weeks, it just stayed off. So we made a workaround for the time being till we could finish the water portion of the project to get that OIT replaced. That got replaced, I believe, in September, October-ish, and it's up and running as the old one did. The dehumidifiers inside there were failing, The town knew about it. They actually ordered some new ones. I just threw it in there as, that's what we found. So another big one is the valves on the internal, or leaking internally on the backwash filters. Bob Valois actually started the process on replacing the backwash valves for the internal, the inlet and the effluent of the tank. While we were there troubleshooting and seeing how the operation ran, we found that the air scour valves on the bottom were actually leaking, which filled water in the entire pipe, which the air scour wasn't even working. So that was kind of a big deal. While they were replacing the other valves, they were able to change those at the same time, which really helped the process. We upgraded the auto valves at Monix, upgraded the chlorine system to auto valves. Before they were manual, they would have to go in there every day, turn the knob. We put automatic auto valves in there. Then we added VFDs and check valves. This was talked about prior to the SCADA project. After the SCADA project, I believe, was awarded, they brought it back up again. And I said, okay, well, we could talk about it. So we did, and we came up with replacing the VFDs and the check valves at well 3, 4, and 5. The reason for most of that was because I had to make 2 visits a year to fix the existing clay valves. And a couple times it was 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. One time it wouldn't shut. So that was probably a big help on the system. Altitude valves, we added one at Gates Tower. That works extremely well. Saves your operators from getting up at 4 in the morning on Monday morning
Yes.
to come turn the valve. And we're going to install 2 more altitude valves at Kilkenny and Hack Street. I believe Robinson applied for the permits. So once those get approved, one of them is in Public Works now, so it's ready to be installed. We just need the permit. And I believe
How long is that process? I mean, I know we started that process a long time ago with the altitude valves.
to install the altitude valve.
Wayne, do you remember when we first started talking about the
The
altitude?
first altitude valve was probably a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was
And
like
they
March,
only
yeah.
wanted to buy the water board. Let's see how that works.
Right.
And now, both of them are both manufactured. One is, but the thing is, if you want to go horizontal or vertical with it. So I think the one we have in possession at Public Works, and that would go over here by Public Works. The other one for the Kilkenny Tower, they're talking about putting a pit in outside. That's $103,000 versus putting it inside and going vertical. So I don't know, was there a determination on that to make that?
I was told to make it horizontal. So I called the manufacturer.
Okay.
They told me it would be a couple weeks, they'd manufacture it, and then it should be out. And then once we receive it, we'll deliver it to Public Works, and then we'll bill accordingly. Because you're not going to be able to change these in the middle of summer.
Demand's too high.
Demand's too high.
Yeah.
I mean, it would probably be 2 days to get it switched out.
And looking at your numbers after everything that you just went through, you got we got water from Cherville, and last year we saved about 14 million gallons of water, and we think we can attribute that to the SCADA system with the altitude valve.
Well, it wasn't just the altitude valve. A lot went into the programming of the system. There's a lot of hours in the programming, probably more than what you would think generally goes into it. The altitude valve helped quite a bit because one thing we found was if we push water from Gates over to Hack to Kilkenny. And when we need that water, we'll push the water, then we'll open up Gates Tower and pull another 1,000 gallons a minute along with that flow over to there. simultaneously. So you get roughly 2,800 gallon, or, yeah, 2,800 gallons out of there, out of the gates, feeding the rest of the town. So the altitude valve actually paid off last year. It was real nice.
The operators are raving about it, so.
Well, they don't have to crank the wheel anymore. I think it's like 20 turns.
4 in the morning.
It was so bad they put a tractor handle on it.
Oh, jeez.
That's
But,
crazy.
so all these items were in incremental cost to us above the 1.2 million for the SCADA?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and these were not part of the SCADA system. These are
No, I
part of the functioning operational parts of the water system. So not all attributed to the SCADA. These were just incidental matters.
Yeah, the building was, or the plant's, what, 15, 20 years old?
Yeah.
It was probably due.
Like, would these type of things be covered in a preventative maintenance plan that we have in place?
The valves are, you would have to notice it, and that's what your operators did. They noticed that there was a problem. They were in the middle of getting it fixed. They just couldn't see the other problem with the air scour.
You can't look inside the pipe to see if it's rotted out, the valve is not holding. But they had like a water hammer created in the Gates treatment plant, and it wasn't good. They had to put a clamp up, and they did a lot of improvements, but a lot of it's just age. And now that the Monex treatment plant, we used to drain the water. It's like a softer backflowing or backwashing. There was a pond that it would go into. Well, it was going directly to Cherville. Now, between Matt and everybody else, it's fixed. It's going back in the pond, and that water's not going to Cherville. The solids aren't going to Cherville because that's what costs us money to get rid of. So it's improved a whole lot, I think.
Mike's proud of that when he took me on the tour, yep.
Yeah.
He was proud of that.
Well, and they're gonna, I think
Yeah, and
they're
that's
gonna.
awesome.
Public
That's
Works is gonna
great.
put a valve in there too. Mike is gonna do that himself. And that's to shut the water off to keep it from going down to Cherville. So I think that they're on a good roll there.
Yeah.
They're on track.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Anybody else, any questions?
Thank you, Matt.
The one suggestion that has come up during this is in the lift stations, for the ones that have water service, to put a pressure transducer there and tie it into the SCADA system, so we can do a little more pressure monitoring of the water system. We're already paying for the cellular modem at those sites, so it's just another data point to be collected. And that'll also help with the hydraulic model that Robinson is doing.
Interesting.
It's just a suggestion, it's not a requirement. It's just another data point to be collected.
Yeah, and not all lift stations have the taps.
Correct. So just the
There's a
ones that would,
handful.
that have easy access to water.
5 of them maybe.
2 for 8 and 9.
Yeah, 8, 9, the panel for 8, 9 is built already. When 6 gets taken away, that panel will be used for another lift station, or can be.
That's true.
Okay. Wayne, did you have anything else?
No?
So let's move on to payment of the bills. Were there any questions about the water district docket?
I would like to ask a very generic question, just to educate me, please. What's the difference between the water district and the water utility?
Well, the water district is the taxing body. So the water district has a separate taxing body. There's a separate tax rate established in the tax levy for the water district. So the utility is obviously separate. It's separate. It's not the same as the district. So those bills flow through a different accounting system. So with the water district budget is approved by council, is completed and presented and approved by the council. So that's separate. So the utility would be presented to the water district. I know it's kind of weird in budgeting, but the district's budgeted, the utility is not currently. So.
So is the district like revenue though, generated
they-
from taxes
Generated from taxes, correct.
versus the utility?
Which is generated through the
from-
utility charges.
From the rates.
Right.
Oh, okay. And then what type of expenses would go under the district? I guess the district, because I know what the utility.
Everything. You got your utilities, you have your engineering, you have, there might be some payroll associated with that as well. Generally for the districts, it's a little bit smaller as a percentage because the revenue obviously is significantly lower
Oh,
in the property taxes, so.
oh.
I guess one could argue that, that with having the district set up, the utility charges are lower, but you're paying it on the property taxes, so it's a kind of a push and pull kind of thing.
Thank you.
I actually asked Beth that same question and she might be able to fill you on some additional items
Okay.
too. Yeah, because I had that same.
That's
same
the short of the long.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on the water district?
Okay, so,
Then looking for a motion to approve the docket for the water district for $11,703.61.
I make that motion?
I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. And then for the water utility docket,
So I have one question remaining. And I think this is gonna come up with sanitary as well, but there was a question about the Microsoft license agreement for the town council. So an expense to Dell. So what's that regarding?
The town has a Microsoft agreement, which basically allows us to use Microsoft software. It covers the operating system, email, Exchange Online Protection, Teams, basically anything Microsoft related needs a license, and we have to pay this. This is an annual fee that we pay every single year. We've been paying this for 12 or 13 years. This is not anything new. Obviously, the price goes up as we add more computers. Every police officer needs at least another one license. Every firefighter needs, sometimes needs a license for a firefighter, but not always. It's just something that we do. It's boilerplate.
So, but it shows up as a town council expense that's being,
It's split. It's town council, water, and sanitary.
okay.
Yeah, I don't understand why it shows as a town council expense. It's a town-wide expense is what it is, but it was split between the three.
It's
believe.
traditionally been split between CCI, Cume Sewer, and Cume Water.
Okay.
At least that's the way it has been split. I do not have the docket, so I cannot speak to how it is being presented today.
okay. Okay, I did not have any other questions. They've all been answered through invoices that I had received. Okay, so looking for a motion to approve the accounts payable voucher docket dated March 21st, 2023, for the water utility for the town of St. John in the amount of $414,014.34.
I make that motion?
I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any public comment? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Jerry Sweats, 9490 Joliet Street. I'm going to make this very brief because you've been here a long time, but my biggest question and concern deals with the SCADA system. That project is just about wrapped up now. Some of the items were appearing on the docket for the town council. Some of it's going to appear on your docket. Some of it's going to appear on the sanitary docket. So I would like to make sure that all of the boards review these carefully. I want to make sure that we don't pay more than we need to, pay twice. I'm concerned about the overruns on this project, if there are some. Some of the things I've heard at the meeting tonight, maybe some of the maintenance items were added to the billing that maybe weren't part of the SCADA system. I would like that. Make sure that we know exactly what the system is costing us. I think the taxpayers deserve that, and I'd like to know that as well. So if I could get some kind of documentation on that, I'd like to see that. Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.